Hey everybody, this is Sheriff Tim Carter in Shenandoah County Sheriff's Office, and today I have with me a special guest, a friend of mine from Southampton County, the sheriff there, Josh Wyche. Sheriff, thanks for stopping in today and talking with us.
Good. Good morning to you as well. Good morning to you as well.
Well, Sheriff, what we've been doing is talk to other sheriffs about current issues in their communities, and one of the things I ask each sheriff is to tell us, is there anything important going on in your county that you wanted to talk about, any changes or anything like that that's affecting the citizens of your county?
Well, we are starting to open up a little bit after COVID, and we've been shut down for so long. I mean, it seemed like a long time, and people are starting to get out. I mean, we just recently had a B&B, which is a Borgans, Newsom, and Branchfield barbecue, more or less, and shrimp free, shall I say. And, you know, the citizens were really glad to get out, and we are trying to make sure that everybody's still safe, even though the COVID restrictions are lifted just a little bit.
Right.
Yes.
I tell you, I was telling friends of mine that I think coming out of COVID, we're coming out with a vengeance.
Correct.
That people have been locked up for so long. And you can tell down here at the sheriff's conference that we're at, if you go out to restaurants, they are packed.
Correct.
People are just going out. They want to be out. They've been locked up forever, and now they're coming out. And I think it's a good thing for communities because I think people, quite frankly, from a tax-based standpoint, it's helpful to localities when people go out and they spend money.
Well, I agree with you 100% there because, I mean, these vendors they've been without for over a year now, and you know, and I'm just glad, as you say, that people are starting to spend money, and hopefully these vendors will get back to where they was at one time or another.
I know. Also, speaking of COVID, I know in my office, I'm not sure if you had this experience with your office, but you know, whenever you had a deputy's spouse that tested positive or a child or something, you had an exposure, man, really we had to do a lot of juggling of shifts and making sure things were covered in our county throughout. I mean, in other words, we just couldn't shut down.
Manpower.
Like oh, yes, sir.
Manpower, it was a big issue. I mean, and you know, I'm just thankful that, you know, the people or the deputies that I have now were willing to step up to the bat. To look after our own. We always consider ourselves a family-oriented sheriff's office, and we do look after our own. So, again, I want to say thank you to them.
Yes, sir.
And all men and women of the uniform.
Yes, sir. Now, as far as business stuff goes, I know there's been, I think, 2 special sessions and 1 general session. There's another special session coming up in Richmond this summer. As I was talking to other sheriffs, I was wondering how any of that has affected you. I know from my perspective, there's been a lot of policies and things that we've had to train up for, and requirements that we got to make sure people understand the new policies, make sure that their training is at the adequate level to deal with the changes. One thing my board did allow me this year is they approved an accreditation manager position, which we didn't have before. And I think accreditation is going to be key, especially with all the changes coming out of Richmond.
Correct.
So I didn't know if you wanted to speak on any of those changes or anything, how they're affecting your office or anything like that.
Well, I mean, a lot of the changes, I look and ask, where is the money coming from? But not only that, the manpower as well.
Right.
I mean, we make these changes, and I mean, we got to think about once we put them to the test.
Right.
You know, manpower. And, you know, it's great. Changes can be good. And I'm not going to say that change can be good, but on the same token, we have to have the resources to make sure that these changes work. Putting changes without resources is not good at all.
You know, I agree completely, Sheriff. And I tell you, that to me has been the biggest stress. It's not that the policy or the law might have changed, but I got to make sure I've got enough staff to manage the change.
Correct.
And localities need to have that support if they're gonna have a change, which I'm like you, change can be good. They still need to have the funding and the resources and the ability to adapt to that change.
Oh yeah,
I'm with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes I think Sheriff Richmond doesn't. Well, maybe they need to make sure the localities are okay with what's going on, because it all happens here at the local level.
Oh, yes, there's no doubt about that. I mean, once it's shifted to us, I mean, we don't have a choice but to try to do the best we can with what we got.
Yes, sir. Well, now let's see. You're a younger sheriff.
Correct.
And I've been coming to the Virginia Sheriff's Institute conferences for quite a while.
Oh, yes.
And I know we haven't had one for about a year and a half,
Correct.
I think. So I guess anything come to mind about the conference here, the training? I know it's helpful to me.
Correct.
I need the training hours to stay certified, and it's helpful to me that people support the Virginia Sheriff's Institute, because it is how I get my training hours and how I keep certified. I don't know if any comments about the conference so far with you.
I tell you, we've had a great conference thus far. I understand the online and the not being in person. It's virtual.
Right.
I get that. But, to me, this networking, when you come in person and I get to see Sheriff Carter, and I get to talk to Sheriff Carter, and if I got a problem and that I haven't yet solved, and, maybe I can discuss with Sheriff Carter that, this is the problem I got. I mean, you've been in it a little bit longer than I have, and maybe you can give me some suggestions as a young sheriff. And, again, this personal networking is worth every bit of the time that we here at this conference.
I tell you, Sheriff, I appreciate you mentioning that, because I'm like you. I think online is fine.
Great.
It's nice you can get those hours in online. But just like you and I sitting here right now, this has been our first time that we've had an opportunity to get to know one another here at the conference. And you're right, a lot of the issues in Southampton are the same issues that I'm dealing with in Shenandoah and vice versa. Having that relationship with you is key, and having that ability to just sit down and talk with you a couple times a year is so important. I think it serves our communities and people that we serve. Too.
And I agree with you. And again, having this conference is a plus. And I mean, anytime a sheriff can get away from his office and sit down and talk with the sheriffs, he can learn something if he's willing to listen.
Right. Well, Sheriff, one last thing before I go. He's here and he's wearing his National Academy shirt. Both of us are graduates from the FBI's National Academy for Law Enforcement Administrators, and I salute you for doing that. It's a lot. It's a lot of hard work. It's an experience that if I could go again tomorrow, I'd go again tomorrow.
That is so correct. That is so correct.
So glad to see another. Even though we weren't classmates, I think our classes are some distance apart. But it's glad to see another National Academy graduate here today, and glad to meet you today and have time with you.
Oh, glad to be here. Glad to be here.
So, Sheriff, those are all the questions I had. If there's anything else you wanted to add before we go?
No. I'm just glad to be here.
That's
all I need to add.
All right. Well, again, everyone, my special guest today has been Sheriff Josh Wyche from Southampton County. And, Sheriff, I appreciate you coming in today and being a part of the podcast with us. And if you all will listen to our podcast at my YouTube channel at Timothy C. Carter, thanks for listening. Go ahead and smash that like button. We'll talk to some other sheriffs here in just a little bit. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay.